12 R&B singers, voices that made you feel things you couldn't name. But behind every perfect performance, every love song, every smile for the cameras, there was something they never wanted you to know. Some of these secrets changed their careers forever. Some of them ended lives, and some were buried so deep they didn't surface until the singer was already gone. Number 12, Barry White. Barry White had one of the most distinctive voices in the history of R&B. Is it in your kiss or just because you're sweet? Girl. That deep velvet bass that told you tonight was going to be all right. The smooth, unhurried cool that made millions of women fall in love without him ever touching them. You know that voice. You probably have a memory attached to it. And here's what Barry White almost never talked about. Before he was the Loverman, he was running with a gang in South Central Los Angeles. Barry was born in Galveston, Texas, raised in the streets of South Central. By the time he was a teenager, he and his younger brother Daryl were what people in the neighborhood called a two-man gang. What kind of love is this that you give me? Car theft, robbery, burglary. Barry himself said years later, "We were good at it." His brother Daryl would eventually be killed in a gang rivalry. But before that happened, 16-year-old Barry White, the future conductor of an 80-piece orchestra, got arrested for stealing $30,000 worth of Cadillac tires off a lot in the dead of night. $30,000 in 1960. The same hands that would one day wave in front of string sections that would arrange and produce some of the most lushly romantic music ever recorded. Those hands were stripping tires off Cadillacs in a South Central parking lot. He was sentenced to time in a juvenile detention facility they called Grim Hill. And if you think that's where the story ends, no, that's where it starts. Because something happened inside that cell. Barry was lying there one night, radio playing in the background, when a voice came through the speaker he'd never paid real attention to before. Elvis Presley singing "It's Now or Never," and Barry White described it later like getting hit by a baseball bat right in the face. An awakening, a moment where everything he thought his life was going to be just reorganized itself around a different future. And here's what I keep coming back to. Is it in your kiss or just because you're sweet? Girl. The man who would become the voice of romantic love, the voice people associate with candles and slow dancing, and the very idea of being held, found his purpose alone in a jail cell, listening to a white rockabilly singer from Mississippi. Girl, what am I gonna do? That's not the story anybody tells at the cookout, but it's the truth. He walked out of that facility and never went back. Not to gangs, not to crime. He walked toward music, and the voice he found, you already know what it did to the world. Girl, I don't know why. Number 11, Smokey Robinson. Smokey Robinson wrote some of the most beautiful love songs ever put to tape. My Girl, Tears of a Clown, Cruising, music that felt like Sunday mornings and slow drives and everything gentle and unhurried in the world. He co-founded Motown alongside Berry Gordy. He helped shape what soul music sounded like for an entire generation. And by the early 1980s, behind all of that beauty, Smokey Robinson was wasting away. And almost nobody knew. in 1981, he just had his biggest solo hit in years. Being With You went to number 1. He was 40 years old at a commercial peak he hadn't seen in almost a decade. But something was quietly happening to him. He'd always smoked weed, never drank, he said, because he hated the taste of alcohol. But after his father died, and then after Marvin Gaye died, the grief started stacking in ways he couldn't manage. And he started adding cocaine to his joints. And then a little more. And then the cocaine was the whole thing. At 5 feet 11 inches tall, Smokey Robinson dropped to 120 pounds. He was holding his pants up with safety pins and letting his shirt hang over the waistband so nobody could see. He described himself later as a walking corpse. For 2.5 years, he ducked everyone, friends, family, the people who loved him most, and he genuinely believed he was managing it. That's the cruelty of that particular addiction. It doesn't just take you down. It convinces you that you're still standing while you're already on the floor. His friend Leon Kennedy found him, showed up at his door one night, looked him in the eyes and said, "Man, you look terrible." And then he said something unexpected. "Sit down, I'm going to pray for you." And Leon prayed for 5 hours straight without stopping. And then he took Smokey to a prayer service at a church near his home in Los Angeles. Smokey Robinson walked into that church in May of 1986, an addict, by his own words, by his own account. And he says he came out free, never looked back, not once. If you've ever watched someone you love disappear inside themselves, and I mean really disappear, where they're physically present but gone in every way that matters, then you know that kind of comeback is not a minor thing. That's not a chapter in an autobiography. That's a second life, and Smokey Robinson has been living it ever since. Real talk, only 9% of you are subscribed. That hurts. We're spending hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life. And if you're watching this far, you clearly care. So hit subscribe. It's free and takes 2 seconds. Now, to my subscribers, barely any of you have joined the membership. And honestly, that stings even more. You know the work we put in. You keep coming back. If these videos have ever made you feel something, if this music means something to you, join the membership. It's $1 coffee a month, and it's the only way we keep this going. Let's build this together. All right, back to it. Number 10, Al Green. Last of the great soul singers. A voice so pure it felt like prayer, even when it wasn't. Together, loving you forever. Let's stay together. Love and happiness. Tired of being alone. At the height of all of that, at the absolute peak of his powers, something happened in his Memphis home on October 18th, 1974, that Al Green spent the rest of his life processing. First in silence, then in a church he bought with his own money, and still preaches in today. Never do that to me. You may have heard the basic outlines. Green had a companion named Mary Woodson. They'd met at one of his charity prison concerts. He used to do charitable performances at correctional facilities, and she told him she was visiting a friend. Since we've been together. What Green didn't know was that Mary Woodson had left behind a husband and 4 children in New Jersey to be with him. He had no idea she was already married. She had never told him. That night in October, Green came home from a recording session with Mary and a flight attendant friend. The two women seemed to get along. They all went to bed. Then at around 1 a.m, Green was in his bathroom getting ready to bathe. He heard a sound behind him. He looked up in time to see Mary's reflection in the mirror.
Make me feel so brand new.
She was holding a pot she'd been heating on the stove. She threw boiling grits on his back. 2nd-degree burns, 3rd-degree in places. He required skin grafts and spent 8 months in recovery. And here's what got buried in the shock of that story. Just days before the attack, Mary Woodson had tried to end her own life, took sleeping pills, was found and survived. Green arranged for her to stay and recover at a friend's house. Nobody outside their immediate circle knew. The press reported the attack on Green and stopped there. What they didn't follow was what happened next. After Green ran from the bathroom in agony, Mary retreated to his bedroom and shot herself with his own gun. He was cleared of any wrongdoing. The evidence was plain. But here's the detail that I can't shake.
Around you is all I see.
Before that night, Mary had reportedly told him quietly, "Al, you're going to be a great preacher someday." He bought a church in Memphis in 1976, became a fully ordained pastor. And the man who sang the most sensuous soul music of his era has been preaching at Full Gospel Tabernacle every single Sunday since. You can still go hear him.
Ooh, baby.
Number 9, Tina Turner.
You must try.
There's something about Tina Turner's performances that always hit differently.
Then I'm acting confused when you're close to me.
The power, the velocity, the way she moved across the stage like the music was literally chasing her. And for years, for many, many years, audiences all over the world looked at that woman and saw strength and joy in everything that looked like freedom. What they didn't see was what was happening when the lights went down. Anna Mae Bullock from Nutbush, Tennessee. She met Ike Turner in the late 1950s at a St. Louis nightclub, barely 18 years old. She could sing. God, could she sing. And Ike Turner understood immediately what he had in front of him. He had her sign a contract, perform under a name he gave her, and then build a machine around her voice, a machine he controlled completely. For the next 17 years, what he did with what he had was own it. The abuse started early and didn't stop. While Tina Turner was performing sold-out shows, recording hits, putting on some of the most electrifying live performances in the history of R&B, she was living in a relationship that left her hospitalized more than once. She performed through injuries, performed through fear, put on that wig, those heels, that smile, and walked out and gave everything she had to an audience that had no idea what it cost her to reach that stage. And if you've ever had to perform, not on a stage, but in your own life, in your own home, in your own relationships, pretending everything was fine when it wasn't, then you understand something about Tina Turner that no documentary can fully capture. The skill of the smile, the discipline it takes to make love look easy when love is anything but. In 1976, she walked away, by her account, with 36 cents in her pocket and a credit card. She had to rebuild from nothing, had to call in every favor, sleep on friends' floors, take any engagement she could find. And the industry watched, politely uncertain, because for years they hadn't seen what was happening right in front of them.
That it's only the thrill.
Then in 1986, she put it all in writing. Her autobiography, Tina. And America had to sit with the fact that the woman they'd been watching all those years had been carrying something no one measured, no one asked about, and no one stopped.
What's love got to do? Got to do with
Tina Turner spent the decades after building one of the greatest second acts in musical history. She earned every note of it, not just because she survived, but because she decided to live fully on her own terms at full volume. That's a different kind of courage.
got to do with what's love.
Number 8, Sam Cooke.
Ever since it's been a long
The King of Soul, a voice that could make you believe in things you'd given up on.
up there beyond the sky.
You Send Me, Chain Gang, Wonderful World, 33 years old. At the absolute peak of his powers, and on the night of December 11th, 1964,
I know a change gonna come.
he walked into a motel in South Central Los Angeles and never came back out. Here's what the official record says.
Eyes up, knocking me.
Cooke spent the evening at a restaurant and a nightclub. He left with a young woman named Elisa Boyer. They checked into the Hacienda Motel together. Shortly after, Boyer claimed Cooke assaulted her. She grabbed her clothes and most of his and fled.
I go to the moon.
Cooke, wearing nothing but a sports jacket and one shoe, broke into the manager's office looking for her. The manager, Bertha Franklin, shot him 3 times in the chest. The ruling, justifiable homicide. Case closed.
Like the river I've been running.
Except it wasn't closed. Not really, because Elisa Boyer was arrested for prostitution just a month later. The Hacienda Motel was known as a place where sex workers operated.
Then I go to
Witnesses at the restaurant that night told investigators that Boyer had been with Cooke willingly, dining, laughing, leaving of her own accord.
It's been a long.
Sam Cooke's credit cards were missing from the scene. People at dinner that night saw him with nearly $5,000 in cash. Only a money clip with $108 was found in his jacket. Etta James, unbound, who viewed the body before the funeral, said publicly and repeatedly that the injuries she saw were not consistent with the official story.
A long time coming.
Cooke's family never accepted the ruling. And once you start pulling at those threads, the rushed inquest, the witnesses who weren't called, the missing money, the story stops looking like a clear-cut case of self-defense and starts looking like something was being covered over. Here's the part that never leaves me.
It's been too.
Sam Cooke had just finished recording A Change Is Gonna Come, a song about hope, about justice, about the long wait for things to be made right for Black Americans in 1964. A song so powerful, it became a civil rights anthem.
I know a change gonna come.
He never got to see where it went. He was shot and killed at 33 in a motel in South Central in circumstances that were never fully explained by a system that wasn't interested in asking too many questions.
It's been a long.
What really happened at the Hacienda Motel that night? Nobody has ever fully answered that question. Whether that troubles you or whether you've made your peace with the official story, I'll let you decide.
I go to the moon.
Number 7, Donny Hathaway. If you know this name, you already know. One of the most gifted souls to ever walk into a recording studio. A voice built on gospel, shaped by jazz, rooted in an emotional truth you can't teach. The ghetto. This Christmas. Where is the love? With Roberta Flack. And behind all of that beauty, behind the brilliance that left even his peers speechless, there was a secret his career was barely equipped to hold.
A very special Christmas.
He grew up in St. Louis, Raised by his grandmother, a professional gospel singer, he was singing in church by the time he was 3, composing his own music by 6. At Howard University, he won a full arts scholarship, met Roberta Flack, and started building something extraordinary. His debut album in 1970, Everything is Everything, arrived like a revelation. By 1972, he and Roberta were putting out duets that went top 5 on the pop charts. He wrote This Christmas, which is still played in every store in America every December. This was a man at the beginning of what should have been a decades-long career. And as we trim the tree, how much fun it's gonna be. And then, during the prime of all of it, Donny Hathaway was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. And here's what you need to understand about that word in 1970. We're caroling through the night. The stigma was enormous. The care available was primitive by any standard. And paranoid schizophrenia specifically, the delusions, the hallucinations, the terror that the people around you are working against you, that doesn't mix well with fame, with recording sessions, with being a public figure. So Donny hit it as best he could. There were hospitalizations throughout the 1970s, years of silence, but in 1978 he came back. He and Roberta reunited. The Closer I Get to You went to number 2. They were recording a second duet album together, and by all accounts, Donny was sounding as good as he'd ever sounded. Then during a January 1979 session, he started acting irrationally, paranoid, delusional. The producer sent him home early. Christmas, fireside is blazing bright. That evening, Donny Hathaway went back to his room at the Essex House Hotel in New York City. The door was found locked from the inside. The window pane of his 15th floor room had been carefully and neatly removed, and his body was found on the sidewalk below. He was 33 years old. The medical examiner ruled it a suicide. His family has questioned that conclusion ever since. And here's the part that quietly haunts the story. Donny had a Grammy-nominated song on the charts. He was scheduled back in the studio the very next morning. Some secrets aren't about wrongdoing. Some are about pain that couldn't find a way out, not for lack of people who cared, but because the illness itself made it impossible to accept the help being offered. If you've ever watched someone you love disappear into their own mind while the rest of the world kept moving, you know that helplessness. How much fun it's gonna be together. Number 6, Phyllis Hyman. And I'm so happy. 6 feet tall, a voice that could bend a note until it ached. You know how to love me. Living all alone. Don't want to change the world. If you know her music, and some of you know it deeply, I can tell, then you know she had a particular gift for singing loneliness. Not in a self-pitying way. In a way that felt specific and true, like she was reaching through the speakers and saying, I see you. I feel that too. What most of her audience didn't know was that the pain in those songs wasn't artistic distance. It was the actual truth of her life, singing itself into the work, because there was nowhere else for it to go. Phyllis Hyman was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in the 1980s. She struggled with it for years, self-medicating with alcohol and cocaine when treatment wasn't working the way it needed to. She'd been in and out of rehabilitation. She'd had previous attempts on her life, and she spoke about it openly with the people closest to her, not as a cry for help, as a philosophy. She believed her body was hers, her life was hers, and she wasn't going to pretend otherwise. On the afternoon of June 30th, 1995, Phyllis Hyman was found unconscious in her New York City apartment. She was 6 days away from her 46th birthday. Her note, and these 4 words have stayed with me since the first time I read them, said simply, "I'm tired. I'm tired." Here's the detail that makes this story impossible to file away.
That's what people say.
She was scheduled to perform at the Apollo Theater that night. Her band showed up. The Whispers, who were sharing the bill, arrived, and when the news reached them, the show went on. Her band performed her songs. Some of her family was in the audience. And her final album, and the one she had just finished recording in the days before her death, was called I Refuse to Be Lonely. People who heard it after she was gone said it was haunting in a way that made them feel she already knew. Every song sounding, in retrospect, like a letter written in the direction of a departure. One writer called it a life and death struggle set to music, and I think he was right. There are artists who carry their pain so openly that we mistake the performance for the whole picture. We hear the aching in the music and think they've found a way to process it. Sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes the music is the secret, and the person making it needed something the songs couldn't give back. Number 5, Luther Vandross. Here and Now. Dance with My Father. Never too much. A voice that people scheduled their entire lives around. You know the type of artist. You hear a certain song, you stop whatever you're doing, you just let it happen. Luther was that. 12 consecutive platinum albums, 25 million records worldwide, and a deeply private personal life that the people closest to him protected like it was sacred. Because to Luther, it was. Throughout his career, the press pushed on that door repeatedly. He was charming about deflecting. In a 2001 Vibe interview, when someone asked about the long-running rumors, Luther smiled and said, "Am I bi-coastal? Yeah. I have houses in Beverly Hills and New York." The room laughed. He'd done it again, but then in the same interview, he said something that wasn't a joke at all. He said, "I'm still waiting. The time I've spent being in love has never been reciprocated." Those are just the circumstances. Luther Vandross passed away in July 2005 at 54 years old from a heart attack following a stroke 2 years earlier. And in December of 2017, 12 years after his death, his close friend Patti LaBelle sat down on live television and confirmed what much of the music industry had known quietly for decades.
Here's what I did. Check it out. I woke up today, looked at your picture.
Luther Vandross was a gay man. He kept it private his entire life. His main reason, LaBelle said, was his mother. He did not want his mother to be upset, and he had a lot of lady fans. He told me he just didn't want to upset the world. His friend and colleague, Bruce Valanche, told Out magazine that Luther had once said, "No one knows I'm in the life," that he had very few romantic connections, that his longest relationship had happened during his time in Los Angeles in the late 80s. And Valanche said it quietly, the way you say something when you understand the full weight of what it cost a person to keep it hidden. Here's what I keep thinking about. This man spent his entire professional life writing and singing about love. He poured everything he had into music that made other people feel seen in their relationships, in their longing, in the ache of wanting someone who doesn't want you back. And by his own admission, he had never been in love, not in the way those songs described. He understood it deeply enough to translate it for millions of people. But he never got to live it openly. Not once. Not in the time he had. You probably have a feeling about whether Patti LaBelle should have confirmed what she confirmed after he was gone. You're not alone, wherever you land on that. But what I believe is this. Luther Vandross deserved to live in a world where he didn't have to choose. He deserved more than that. Number 4, Marvin Gaye.
You know we got to find
The Prince of Motown. What's going on? Sexual healing. I heard it through the grapevine, a catalog so wide and so deep that almost nothing about it feels small. But behind all of it, and behind the genius and the fame, was a man carrying a weight that most of the world didn't understand the size of until it was too late. You probably know the broad outline. April 1st, 1984, the day before his 45th birthday. Marvin Gaye was shot and killed by his own father. That's the part everyone knows. But what most people don't know, what Marvin spent his life trying to manage in private, is the full portrait of what led to that morning. And it's darker than the headline. Marvin's father, Marvin Gaye Sr., Marvin Jr. had added the A to distinguish himself, was a preacher in the Hebrew Pentecostal Church. A strict, harsh disciplinarian who, by all accounts from Marvin's biographers and family, physically abused his children throughout their childhoods. And who, as his son's fame grew enormous, appeared to resent it with a bitterness that never softened. Marvin was spending money on his father, buying him cars, inviting him to shows, still trying, still reaching for something his father never gave back. If you've ever done that, kept trying to reach someone who wouldn't meet you, you already know how that wears on a person. By 1983, Marvin Gaye was in terrible shape, and the world barely knew it. A cocaine addiction that had become a crippling dependency, deep financial debt to the IRS, to his ex-wives, to nearly everyone. 1 year removed from his Grammy-winning comeback with Sexual Healing, and he was moving back into his parents' house in Los Angeles. The man who had written What's Going On was living under the same roof as the man who had beaten him as a boy. On April 1st, his father came into his bedroom during an argument. Marvin fought back physically, something he had not done before. His father pulled out a handgun, one that Marvin himself had arranged for his father to have, for protection. Shot twice. His brother Frankie, who lived next door, got there in time to hold him in his final minutes. And Frankie later wrote that Marvin's last words were, "I got what I wanted. I couldn't do it myself, so I made him do it." His father was later found to have a brain tumor that may have altered his behavior for some time before that morning. He pleaded no contest to voluntary manslaughter. He got a suspended sentence and probation. And Marvin Gaye, the man who sang What's Going On for the World, was cremated and his ashes scattered into the Pacific Ocean. Some of y'all just went quiet right there. I felt it. Number 3, Teddy Pendergrass. If there's one voice in R&B history that made women lose their minds in the best possible way, it was his.
What you think about it, girl?
The for women only concerts where men weren't allowed in the building. The velvet growl, the electricity of a man who sang love like it was the only honest language he knew. And on the night of March 18, 1982, he got into his Rolls Royce with a woman the world didn't know on a street in Philadelphia, and nothing was ever the same.
Taking the bumps and the bruises of all the things of a two-time.
Teddy lost control of his car on Lincoln Drive in East Falls, Philadelphia. No other vehicle was involved, and slammed into a tree. He and his passenger were trapped in the wreckage for 45 minutes. When they got Teddy out, the damage to his spine was severe. He was paralyzed from the chest down. 32 years old, at the height of everything. The press immediately wanted to know about the woman in the car. Her name was Tenica Watson, a nightclub performer and model. And within days of the accident, reporters dug into her background. They found out she was a transgender woman. The coverage was brutal. The Jet headline called her Teddy's transsexual passenger. Watson's modeling career was destroyed overnight. She had to leave the city.
Told myself time and time again, this time
And while all of this was happening, Teddy Pendergrass was fighting to survive, fighting to breathe on his own, and every news cycle was about who was in his car and what it implied, not about him.
it's just another sad song. And I think I better.
Teddy never publicly addressed any of it. He came back, eventually, performed from his wheelchair, released music, fought his way back to a stage with a stubbornness that is genuinely difficult to overstate. But the questions followed him for the rest of his life, and Tenica Watson stayed quiet. For 30 years, she stayed quiet. In 2014, she gave an interview to Oprah's Where Are They Now? And what she said reframed the whole thing. She'd seen Teddy briefly at a club. He offered her a ride home. That was it. She said she didn't even think Teddy knew about her transition. She tried to visit him at the hospital after the accident and was turned away by someone at the door. I didn't know him at all, she said. He was just someone who offered me a ride home. In 2002, Teddy's mother arranged for them to finally meet. 20 years after the accident, they sat together in a car. Didn't say much. She said it was the closure she needed. Teddy Pendergrass passed away in January 2010 from colon cancer. He never fully commented on what happened that night. Whether you think that was his right or whether you wish he'd said more, I'll let you sit with that. Number 2, Whitney Houston.
So I go.
The greatest voice of all time. That's not hyperbole. That's the consensus. From the first moment she came out with Saving All My Love for You, the conversation was over. She was it. The voice, the presence, the whole package. And in the middle of all of that, from the very beginning of all of that, there was someone standing next to her who knew who Whitney Houston really was. In 1980, Whitney was 16 years old, working as a junior counselor at a summer camp in East Orange, New Jersey. She met a 19-year-old named Robin Crawford. They became inseparable almost immediately. And what started as a friendship became, by Robin's own account in her 2019 memoir, a romantic relationship. Two young women in love with each other at a time and in a world that gave them very little room to be exactly that. In 1982, Whitney signed with Clive Davis at Arista Records, and Robin says that's when Whitney gave her something, a slate blue Bible. She had written inside it what their love meant to her, what their loyalty and devotion meant. And then she said quietly, "We can't be physical anymore, because if people find out about us, they'll use it against us." Robin said she found comfort in her silence, and she kept it for the next 37 years. Robin stayed by Whitney's side for 2 decades, as her creative director, as her closest friend, as the person who understood better than almost anyone what fame was doing to her and tried again and again to get her help. In 1988, Robin went to Whitney Houston and told her directly that Whitney needed treatment for her addiction. She was ignored. When Bobby Brown came into the picture and the marriage began to deteriorate, Robin was the one who saw it first, and eventually Whitney pushed her out of her life entirely. And here's the part that stopped me when I first read it. Bobby Brown, in his own memoir, confirmed the relationship between Whitney and Robin, and then said something that a lot of people weren't ready for. I really feel that if Robin was accepted into Whitney's life, Whitney would still be alive today. The husband saying that. You can sit with what that means.
Life treats you kind.
Robin Crawford's memoir came out in 2019, 7 years after Whitney died in February of 2012. She titled it "A Song for You, My Life with Whitney Houston." She said that before she wrote it, she asked herself one question.
Please don't cry.
What would Whitney want? And she decided to answer it with the truth. If you have a Whitney Houston memory, a specific moment, a specific song, a specific place you heard her, drop it in the comments. I want to know which one it is.
Every step of the way.
Number 1, R. Kelly.
Now I know the meaning of true love.
One of the most commercially successful R&B artists in history. Songs at every party, every wedding, every slow jam radio show through the 90s and 2000s. I Believe I Can Fly. Bump and Grind. Step in the Name of Love. A catalog so embedded in the culture that for a very long time, a shockingly long time, people chose to look away from what was happening right in front of them. In 1994, a 14-year-old girl named Aaliyah Houghton recorded her debut album. R. Kelly produced it, wrote most of it. He was her mentor, introduced through her uncle, music executive Barry Hankerson. Rumors circulated immediately about the nature of their relationship. The title of the album she made at 14, the album that launched her career, was Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. That wasn't a coincidence. That was a confession with a beat underneath it. In August of 1994, R. Kelly was 27. Aaliyah was 15. They got married in secret. Federal prosecutors later alleged that Kelly paid a bribe to a public official in Illinois to create a fraudulent identification document listing Aaliyah's age as 18. And they allege this happened the day before the wedding. Her parents found out and had the marriage annulled in February of 1995. And then, according to the docuseries Surviving R. Kelly, Kelly and his team pressured Aaliyah's family into signing a non-disclosure agreement, silence in exchange for the rights to his first 3 albums. They signed it. Aaliyah spent the rest of her career never speaking about what happened to her. She died in a plane crash in 2001. She was 22 years old. R. Kelly kept going for 3 more decades with an entire infrastructure of enablers around him, handlers, associates, industry insiders who knew or suspected and said nothing or looked away or decided the music was worth the silence. Journalist Jim DeRogatis first published reporting on him in 2000. The industry shrugged. A sex tape emerged in the early 2000s. A criminal trial happened in 2008. He was acquitted. The songs kept playing at the wedding receptions. It wasn't until Surviving R. Kelly aired in 2019 when survivor after survivor told their story on camera in their own words, one after another, that the wall finally came down in a way that couldn't be rebuilt. In 2021, he was convicted of federal sex trafficking and racketeering. He is currently serving a 30-year sentence. The secret of R. Kelly wasn't really a secret. The people around him knew, industry people knew, reporters knew, fans heard the whispers and kept buying the music. And that is the part of this story that should make all of us uncomfortable, not just as fans, but as people. Because talent is not a moral exemption, because a career is not permission, and because the women who lived through what he did deserved an industry, a culture, and a world that chose them instead.